that's really good there. Move this over. All right, looks like we got someone joining. Oh, it's Cole. Uh-oh, he caught me.
He's talking.
All right. All right, so I was just thinking how the TV was behind me, and I thought, oh, I should have put a fire on it. So you guys thought, you know, got some ambiance going. Okay, so since I know that I'm live, since my husband is commenting, and if you join and you're catching, you know, just say hi, say hey Jennifer, so I know who's here. Tonight, what we're going to talk about, so this is in the Inspiring Wellness group. So if you're in this group, it's because you are a doTERRA wholesale account member somewhere in my organization. So one of the things that I love that I get to do is teach you guys new things about essential oils. And so we've been doing that every Monday for the past couple of months. Whew, I'm out of breath. So what we're going to do tonight, I'm actually kind of excited, and it's very impromptu. Like literally an hour ago I came up with this because our house is currently furnace broken, and it's really cold outside. We're in the 30s now, and even with the sun out, it's still very cold in the house. So instead of making my son lay on a massage table without his top on in our cold house, I decided let's do something different. And I was a little inspired because my kids came home from school, and my 9-year-old was complaining of a sore throat and a stiff neck. She said her neck was stiff, so immediately I'm thinking strep throat because that's kind of how it starts to present. So I'm like, okay, I said, go get jammies on, get your blanket, your pillow, you're gonna curl up in the chair and we're gonna oil you up. So I want to talk about what I do when my kids, or you know, anybody comes to you and they're not feeling well and you know they're coming down with something. So actually, tonight we're going to talk about the touch blends. I have all of them here. I am, nope, I've got them all. Okay, so there are actually 9 oils in this set, and you can order the whole set. I think it's $161, and you get 9 essential oils, and let me tell you what they are. You get oregano, breathe, melaleuca, lavender, peppermint, digestin, on guard, deep blue, and frankincense. So prior to the touch blends, I used to, you know, drop an oil in my hand, put the fractionated coconut oil in, and then that's what I would use on my kids. Well, what I love about the touch blends is that I can actually just tell my kids, go use the purple oil. Like today, Lila came home and she had an owie on her toe, and I said, go put some lavender on it, and she wanted to know what color it was, and I said purple. And so what I love about them is that they're all perfectly diluted for the chemistry of the essential oil to do the most impact on the body for the best absorption. So they're not all diluted the same. They're all diluted very differently. Can you do me a favor and go unplug that heater? Thank you. So when people ask me questions like, well, is it cheaper to make it on my own? But honestly, I can't really answer that because I don't know how much they're diluted. That's actually private information that doTERRA has because they you know, they paid for the science and the technology, or not the technology, the research behind it. So that's just information that I don't have. But with that said, we can know that they are diluted to the ratio where they're going to work the best on you. So, this is where I need a little bit of interaction, but I don't really have anybody joining me yet. So I'm just going to kind of wing it, and hopefully I cover all the things. So, let's say your child comes to you with a sore throat. What do? So this is what I did for Hattie, is I grabbed the On Guard. And it's already diluted, so it's not spicy. And if you ever want to know, just kind of taste it, and you'll be able to tell, oh yeah, I feel the spice, I taste the spice, but it doesn't hurt, it's not caustic or anything. So what I do is I just have them lift their neck up like that, and then I just roll it on their neck. And then what's cool about the silver stainless steel bottles is that you don't get so much oil out that you really have to rub it in. but that heat exchange that takes place when you rub an essential oil in is helpful to help absorb it even better. So we just roll that on there. Now, let's say they come to you and they have a cough. Okay, so sore throat, dry, itchy throat, on guard. Let's say they have a cough. So I might use Breathe, and I would probably then, here, put your neck up, and then I would probably just put that in. You can see this one's an older bottle, so it doesn't have the stainless steel, and it actually produced enough to make a drip, so just rub that in. And then you can put it down on their chest as well, if you would like, if the cough seems like it's coming a little bit further down. And then that can be helpful. So my baby actually has been coughing a lot. He's been doing it enough to where he wakes up at night and he's coughing, and it wakes me up, kind of wakes him up, but he goes back to sleep. So we've been using a lot of Breathe on his chest. The other way that you can use it is you can turn them around, take the top off, and you could put it on their back. So where their lungs are on their back, that's where you would put that oil as well. You can also put it on the back of the neck for congestion that's in the throat. So you can put it around the neck and then around the back of the throat, and that's Breathe. Now, last night I had a little trouble sleeping because I was just slightly stuffy, just enough to be annoying. So I just took a little bit of that Breathe oil and just went like that on my nose. And it was like instant, clear breathing. And so I really liked it because this is diluted, it doesn't burn, and that fractionated coconut oil helps it to stay around a little bit longer, so you're breathing it in a little bit longer. Essential oils are volatile, which means they flash off and they absorb really fast. So you can sometimes feel that sensation of them really quickly, but then it goes away fast. So that's why that diluting helps. Okay, so let's talk about respiratory issues. So let's say your child comes to you and they've got a cough that's coming from here. So you can use that Breathe, and you can use frankincense. And then there's no citrus oils in the touch kit, but you can add some orange to that. And that citrus is going to help break down that congestion because citrus oils break down mucus. Now, another oil that I like to use, if you don't want to use Breathe, you can use Melaleuca, okay? Melaleuca is kind of like a milder form of eucalyptus. So I honestly probably haven't cracked open my bottle of eucalyptus like ever. Like, I'm pretty sure it's the same full bottle I had 5 years ago. We just don't use that much of it. I really like the Breathe, and I really like the Melaleuca. Okay, so let's say your child comes to you and their ear is itching, or maybe they've got some congestion in their ear, or maybe it's hurting. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this Melaleuca. Again, this is an old bottle before they switched to stainless steel. And you're just going to have them kind of tip their head over like that. And you're just going to take that oil and you're going to roll it around the ear like this. And you can kind of put a little bit in those crevices, and then you're going to roll it down the neck where those lymph nodes are. And then you can just rub it down like this. What that's going to do is that's going to encourage that drainage. So if you look up Melaleuca in the Modern Essentials book, you will find that it is really good for drainage. And then you can keep applying that down. Now, let's say your child has ear pain, okay? And their ears are clogged, but they have pain in them. Then you can use Deep Blue, and you can do the same thing by just, here, tip your head just a little bit, kiddo. By rubbing it, and actually I like to get more behind the ear in the crease, and then more in the front right here, and around. And then I might actually take a little bit on my finger and just kind of put it right in there for her. Now, Deep Blue is going to have a little bit of a cold sensation. It's a very soothing oil, and so that can be very, very soothing. If the pain is really bad, you may have to take that oil and go behind the neck, which that's what you would do for a child who has a headache as well. So let's say little Lila comes to me and she has a headache. So with little kids, their hair is a little bit thinner, so it works really well. And I've done this before where I'll take that oil and kind of part the hair, and then I'll roll it right into where that she points to where the head hurts. This works for like when they fall and bump their head or whatever might happen. Okay, so that is Deep Blue. Now, We know deep blue is really good for pain and inflammation. So again, you can use this for when kids have owies. When Lila broke her foot, fractured the top of her foot, was that last summer? Last summer when you did that? You were in the cast. We were using a lot of deep blue, and her toes would be poking out, so I'd kind of roll that oil underneath and around the toes as best as I could. So that is what we do for that. Now, let's say lavender is one of my favorite oils for all kinds of things, and I typically, whenever we need to use any oils on the kids, lavender is going with it. So let's say you have the ear pain as well. So we talked about Melaleuca and deep blue. Lavender is also really good because of the mild analgesic effects. But also, let's say your child is coming to you and their nose is constantly running, okay, and it won't stop. So what you can do then is, I don't necessarily like to put the oil here, okay, but I might put it more down in here and get it close to that nose where it's not under their eye. Is my finger strong? Can you smell that with your eyes? Can you smell it with your eyes? Or do your eyes just see? Your eyes don't smell, do they? No, but she probably feels the vapor because I have some deep blue on my fingers. So anyways, I'm going to try and get that close. I want you to remember though, you don't have very many blood vessels in your sinuses. So putting an oil on your forehead isn't necessarily going to work for the sinuses, but it can be beneficial for things like head pain that might, like if the child has some head tension from sinus pressure up here, it can be helpful for that. But for the most part, you want to get it down here. There's more blood vessels. A little trick. Peppermint is going to help push those oils through those, what little blood vessels you have in the sinus cavity. So you can take that diluted peppermint and you can put it, here, tip your head up, and you can just put it right here along the ridge, right underneath that jawline where the skull ends and where that soft tissue is kind of at. So Lila's getting really oiled up tonight. Do you like getting oiled up? What's your favorite oil?
No.
You don't know? Do you like lavender the best? Now, you're always asking for lavender. So that's the other thing I do. Now, one oil that you can use on the face I love is frankincense. And so what we do is, so it's going to be for inflammation. So little question here, what happens when you're congested and you can't breathe? So let's say your child is trying to go to bed, but they're all stuffy and they're complaining about being stuffy and they won't go to sleep. What do? Frankincense, because frankincense is an anti-inflammatory, and so it's going to reduce the inflammation of the nasal cavities so they can breathe a little bit better so they can get to sleep. So what you would do in this case is, turn your head. Are you getting bored? Getting bored? Okay, well, we're almost done. You're going to take that frankincense and roll it here. I do like to put that on my fingers. Yeah, I've got too many oils on my fingers now to do it, but I would just roll it on my finger like that and then go like this, and then I would just swipe that right there. And they actually like to do that on their own, and they even sometimes use it without the dilution because frankincense is a mild expectorant, so it's going to help kind of clear that nose up really quickly so they can try and get some sleep. If they're an older child, they might like Breathe, the Touch Blends and the Breathe. Okay, so now the other thing I do, so right there, everything that I talked about addresses symptoms as well as helping them be healthy. Now here is the kicker. So we know that putting oils on the bottoms of the feet is great. So what I do for my kids instead though is, I'll have you stand up and then you can leave. You'll be all done. So what I do is I actually put the oils on their spine back here. So I'll just leave her shirt down just a little tight. So I'm going to start up at the neck here, and I'm going to roll it down each side of the spine where that soft tissue is, and then I'm going to very lightly push that oil out, which you guys will hear why I do that when I do my Aroma Touch demonstration in 2 weeks. And so we're just going to roll it out. We want to be very gentle because what we're actually doing is trying to activate the neurological system with nice light touches. All right, kiddo, you can go now. And then shut the door when you go out. And the reason why you want to do nice light touches is because the neurological system is activated very differently than the rest of the body systems. Those light touches cause that little tickle sensation. So you know when somebody just rubs their hands really lightly down your back and you get that little tickle? Well, that is a neurological response. And so since our neurological system is responsible for our immune system, that's what gets it going. And so we kind of have this made up term. This isn't a scientific term, but it's kind of a cool little term and it makes a lot of sense. So when we roll those hands outward from that spine, we call that the neurological cast. So we're casting those essential oils out neurologically. And the reason why we want to do that in that area is because obviously the spine is where all that is, but also the spine and the brain has this spinal fluid that goes around it in that sacral, gosh, my words are leaving my head, but you guys know what I mean. It's all connected, and so we don't have an immune system in there, and so that's where viruses like to hang out, because there's no immune system there to fight them off. So if we can use essential oils in that spot and encourage the movement out away from that area, then that gives our body a much better chance to fight off a virus. Okay? And so oftentimes when we do this, we find that we don't end up, like, we'll wake up the next morning and we feel a lot better. And so our day isn't disrupted. Okay, so how often do you do this? This is actually something that a lot of people ask me and a lot of people forget. Now, it's important to know, and this is where we have to retrain our brains. When we are used to using over-the-counter medication or even antibiotics, the way they work with our body is they force a change to happen in a period of time. So, like, for example, you take Tylenol and you can take another one in 4 hours. So essential oils are different. They're used up in our body just like our body uses water or takes in nutrition from food. You have to do it throughout the day, and sometimes it's not always the same period of time. So, like, for example, right now with what I'm doing for Hattie, I'm putting On Guard on her throat to help with that sore throat. I'm going to have her do that about every hour. So it's sitting right by her. The little bottle is sitting right by her, and kind of whenever it comes to her mind, she's going to roll it on. Now, since there's coconut oil, you're probably not going to experience what's called sensitization, which is basically like when you use an oil too much in one spot, you'll notice the skin gets kind of red. It might turn a little dry, like it's chapped. That's what sensitization is. It's not a bad thing. It just means that the part of your skin has been using that oil too much. So when I have a cold, I use a lot of lemon across my nose. So what ends up happening is my skin gets a little raw there. And so about the time it starts to get raw is when I start to feel better. So I don't need it as often. Same thing with Breathe. I had a really big cough, so I was using a lot of Breathe right here, but not diluted, okay? So I just want to say that I wasn't putting the coconut oil in it, and so I was noticing I was getting a little chapped skin, and that goes away once you stop using the oil. It doesn't mean that the oil is going to hurt you or that you won't be able to use the oil again. It just means that your skin just needs a break, okay? But since these are pre-diluted, you're probably less likely to experience that sensitization. Okay, so let me just go through and see what oils I have not talked about. Okay, we all know Digestin is for digestive support, but did you know that Digestin can help with congestion as well? It has oils in it that are actually super beneficial. So you can definitely use it for those things. So Breathe, when you put it here, kind of has a vapor that goes up to the eyes. Digestin doesn't have that quite as badly. So just something to think about. The other thing is if your child is feeling a little upset stomach, nauseous from whatever virus they're fighting off, you can take that Digestin and roll it along that bone behind the ear. It's kind of that hard area, and put it right there, and that's actually a really good place to put oils for that, you know, sensation of feeling like you're getting a little sick. Okay, so the final oil that I want to talk about is on oregano. Okay, so oregano's not an oil I use as a preventative, and it's not the first oil that I use when you have an issue. Mainly because it's mostly antifungal, antibacterial. It's not necessarily antiviral, and this is why. And you can do this little experiment at home. I should have brought a little glass and showed you this. So what's kind of fun is you take a glass of water in a really clean, clear glass so you can actually see through it really well. Do a really fun experiment and drop oregano in, drop On Guard in, okay? And you will see something that's really cool. One is On Guard will kind of relax in the water, okay? And then it will kind of tighten up, and oregano will tighten up really fast. The other thing is there'll be different levels of buoyancy as well. So that's going to kind of show you that essential oils react to a water surrounding very differently. So here's the thing, your body is made of water, okay? And so our cells are made of lipids. So here's a really cool thing. On Guard has oils in it that are more lipid attracted, which means they're going to really enjoy the atmosphere within the cellular structure. Oregano is more water loving, so they're more likely to sit on the outside of a virus or a cell that's being attacked by a virus, and they're going to be more likely to go at it from that direction. And so when you have a virus, On Guard is great. What is a virus? It's basically a milder illness that has to run its course. Bacterial basically means that the virus was living in your body long enough to become bacterial. And so what will usually happen is you will be sick, and then you'll start to feel better, okay? And then like a day to 3 days, it's like it hits you even harder. You get your fever back, you get your body aches back even worse. Maybe you feel even more exhausted. That usually lets you know that that virus has now mutated to a bacteria, and so oregano is going to be your friend. So here's my rule. If you are sick and you have hit day 3 and you're not turning that corner yet, start using your oregano. A virus should turn the corner between 3 to 5 days. If it goes past 5 days, then you go into the 10th day. You're probably not going to fight it off treating it like a virus. At that point, you're going to have to start treating it a little bit stronger, because once something turns bacterial, your body is going to have a way harder time fighting it, and that's when the danger to your body comes in, and so we just want to prevent that from happening. Yes, you could totally fight off bacterial infections with essential oils, but I won't lie, guys. If Hattie wakes up tomorrow and her throat's really bad and her back is hurting, I'm definitely going to be taking her to the doctor just to get a swab for strep. And yes, she'll go on an antibiotic. Why? Because I don't play around with that. If I do everything I can with essential oils and her body is still getting a bacterial infection, I might take a little bit more chance with me, because I can feel my symptoms and know if it's really serious, but a child doesn't know that, and she can't articulate or voice that to me as well as I can feel it for myself. And so then I'm just going to support her body through the process of an antibiotic. So strep, UTI infections, I typically do go to the doctor for. However, I do try my best to fight them off with essential oil. So we are going to be doing our best. So later on tonight, she's going to be gargling. That poor kid, she's going to see what gargling is like. So how would I use my oregano? We had this problem with Sam last winter. He just got sick and it just wouldn't go away. And we had to take him to the doctor several times. And eventually I was like, you know what? I'm just going to use oregano, and I'm going to put it on the bottoms of his feet 3 times a day. Sure enough, within 2 days, that kid was right as rain. We stopped the runny nose, he stopped coughing, the goopy eyes, all of it stopped. And then he never got sick again. I was like, why didn't I think of this sooner? So this year, as he started to cough a little bit more, I got out my oregano. And so he's been getting that on his feet every night before he goes to bed, and it's been doing really well. So we're not getting sick. The kiddo's doing really well. So I'm excited about that. Okay, so that is all the oils. So if you have questions or specific illnesses that your kids are maybe coming down with, or maybe something your kid gets every year, then definitely ask in this thread, okay? I know everyone likes to send me a private message, but do your best to put it here because that way everybody can kind of see my responses and get educated on that as well. And I think that will benefit everyone. If it's a private issue and you don't want anybody to know, you know, for sure, tell me about it. I'm not going to make you tell me your secrets on the group. So, but I do like everybody to learn from the different things that I tell you. Also, there's other people in this group that have education and experiences that I don't, that could be really helpful for you as well. Okay. So that's the touch plans. I hope that was really helpful for you. For those that are not on Facebook very often or are not on Facebook at all, this video will be included in the monthly email that I send out at the first part of the month. So that way you have it saved if you prefer getting emails. So I hope everyone has a great day. I hope everybody stays healthy and is staying safe this year. And if you want to know more about keeping your kids healthy or keeping you healthy as cold and flu season comes on, look for the video about On Guard that I did back in August, I think, where I talked all about On Guard and all the different On Guards. And now we have On Guard mouthwash. How cool is that? All right, guys, have a great night.